Okay, this is going to be tapering into eventually the gross anatomy of muscle. Let's look at muscle movement. There are different ways that our muscle moves. The movement is a contraction. And a contraction does not necessarily mean the muscle is lengthening or shortening. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. But typically, when you're engaging a muscle, it's extending energy to move something, to push or pull. So, isotonic contraction, I'll know these definitions. An isotonic contraction is a contraction in which movement does take place because the tension generated by the contracting muscle exceeds the load on the muscle. So this is when you push or pull on an object. Okay. Isotonic has two types: concentric and eccentric. So a concentric contraction is where the muscle shortens in length. So if you look at your bicep brachii muscle and you're doing a bicep curl, that would be bending at the elbow, doing the actual curl itself. The muscle is going to shorten. The eccentric contraction would be lowering the dumbbell, extending at the elbow in that bicep curl example. So the eccentric part is where the muscle lengthens. So concentric shortens, eccentric lengthens. Okay, the muscles also, we're just going to say all of our muscles work together. So our muscles are very synergistic with each other. For example, if you're standing there doing a bicep curl, holding the bar with your arms, with your hands, and doing the bicep curl, working your arms, here's a question: what muscles in your body are not contracting? Everything's contracting. You're stabilizing, you're standing, all your leg muscles are engaging, your core's engaging, your back, everything. Okay? But to keep all of this simple, we're mostly going to focus on the actual movement parts. So if you're doing the bicep curl, we're simply looking at the bicep muscle and some of the forearm muscles. Okay? So all of our muscles work together to help us contract. Okay, however, we do have antagonistic muscles, and then we have agonist muscles, also known as prime movers. Okay, so if the bicep flexes the elbow and the tricep extends it, those two muscles are opposing each other, so that would be antagonistic. So in other words, if you're doing a bicep curl and you're bending at the elbow doing the curl, your bicep is the main muscle contracting in that example, and the tricep, which is its opposite muscle, is relaxing. Because if the tricep contracted at the same time the bicep did, you're not going to get any movement. So one has to relax and one has to contract. So an example like that, those are antagonistic muscles, which, to keep it simple, is basically the opposite of what you're looking at. Like the quadricep muscle, its opposite is the hamstring. Your anterior tibialis muscle, its opposite would be the posterior tibialis. Bicep brachii, tricep brachii. Wrist extensors, wrist flexors. Okay, so basically, the muscles that are opposite corresponding are going to be the antagonistic muscle. Okay, the muscle that's working is called the prime mover or the agonist. The relaxing muscle is the antagonist. Okay, prime movers are helping the other muscles, which is synergistic. So those are synergist muscles. And so like, let's see. So like if you're doing a squat, you're actually going down, doing the so-called sit-down part. You're using quadricep and a lot of glutes. So they're working together. So they're very synergistic to each other. Okay, so there's your agonist definition, another one, antagonist, okay, synergist. And then your fixator muscles are the muscles that supply the necessary support to assist the rest of the body while the movement occurs. Okay, they're also known as stabilizers, and that's the one that I use the most, in fact all the time, are the stabilizing muscles. Extremely important that your stabilizer muscles, especially your core, be healthy. Okay, now to get the most out of this, you really want to focus on the tiny little stabilizer muscles, those tiny little muscles that are deep inside of your body. Okay, now later on when we get to gross anatomy, you'll get to see these. But these are the ones, especially during rehab and PT stuff, that you want to focus on to get the stabilizers strong, and then you start building. Get the next layer of muscles and the next layer of muscles.